on BBC Radio Surrey. Thank you. Now, we've all heard about seasonal affective disorder. It's sometimes known as winter depression because the symptoms are usually more obvious and severe during the winter season. Well, Jo Baldwin is an author from Hove who suffers from it herself, and now she's trying to make a difference for others through her writing. And I'm happy to say that Jo joins me on the programme this morning for a chat. Hello.
Hi, Jo.
Good.
Another Jo.
Well, I was going to say, what a great name, first of all.
What a brilliant name.
Yes. Now, I think seasonal affective disorder is something that people are familiar with and we think we know all about, but it's probably one of those conditions where we only know it as a sort of at a glance. Do you know what I mean? Unless someone in our world is actually a sufferer themselves. So let's talk a little bit more about what it actually means, first of all, and then we'll talk about how you're seeking to help others. So what is it? What happens?
Well, it's kind of the lowest feelings of you can feel something changing in yourself and the weather and the environment, and it's kind of that sinking feeling. And it starts about September for me, and as the winter nights draw in the UK, it gets worse and worse. And thankfully now, not only do I recognise what SAD is, I do lots of things to temperament that and make winters better, like moving to the coast, which I've just done. But it's been about 15 years ago, I recognised I had sort of suffered from this, but nobody's heard of it, and everyone thought, oh yeah, right, what's she going on about? In fact, one of my friends the other day said, okay, I do believe you now.
Well, that was nice.
Which is nice, yeah. But I think sadly, because most of us are so used to winters in the UK, or winters everywhere, because obviously, if you're from Scandinavia with those long, awful, dark winters, they know all about SAD, but it's just defining it as that. And I think sometimes we do need to give it a definition so that we can say, well, actually, what's the best way of dealing with that and helping ourselves through it? And that definitely has helped me. Look, quite a few people suffer it, I think. They just don't really call it.
Yes, no. Well, I think the depression itself was kind of dismissed as, we all suffer from the blues now and again previously, but it was lack of understanding. I love it when friends say things like that. I was very down when I had a job I wasn't enjoying. It wasn't this one, just in case our boss is listening. And it really, really got me down. And years later, a friend said, oh, I never really knew what you were talking about when you went on and on about your job, but now I do because I'm in the same boat. And I thought, oh, well, thanks. You obviously sat in the pub and you're sitting there thinking, oh, I wish you'd shut up about it. But I suppose it's true of life that until something happens to you, maybe you don't appreciate that it really exists.
Yeah, and also I think we need to be more honest, because I probably I slightly dismissed it and probably didn't explain how bad I was feeling. And I think that's generally for depression anyway. And that my new book I'm making is about depression, about mental health, and about being more open and honest about sharing. So I think I'm partly to blame. I didn't really tell my friends how bad it was for me. Just sort of soldiered on and then got migraine after migraine and struggled through the winter. So it's both things, I think, yeah.
My boss has just actually emailed me and says the headline in the email says, you've been deliriously happy here at every stage, which is what I was going to say next, Jo.
I've been told to say it later, like.
Yes, you will read this up. You mentioned doing things to alleviate the situation as best you can. Tell me about how, apart from the fact that it's lovely, how moving to the coast would help, and also, given that it begins for you to start to take a hold in September, is there a sense of dread? I mean, again, I'm one of those people, I know something that I'm not going to enjoy is coming up, I will dread it until it's over. Do you get a sense of sort of foreboding as you get into August and late summer and think, oh, it's nearly coming? Yeah,
really, really bad. In fact, in some ways, that's worse, that kind of preemptive time when I know what's coming. So, so this summer I did move. I've been coming to Hove for many, many years, but I made the choice to move to the coast. I think it's partly for me being close to nature, and I know people talk about this a lot, but it is so important that we connect with nature in some way or another. And for me, the sea has always been my absolute dose of the best medicine in the world. And walking along the beach and seeing the vastness of the sky and the sea. So I think that's primarily my number one tip for anyone who suffers any form of depression. Is the more you can get out, rain, hail, grey, dark skies, doesn't matter. It's so good for us. So I've got a little dog too. So we walk to the beach every day, and we walk on the beach every day, sometimes twice a day, sometimes 3 times a day. But I ensure that that is a priority for me. I'm outside and proper natural light, not false light. So that definitely helps. And obviously the exercise is an absolute key part of that's the thing I start my day with every single morning, yoga and then outside exercise, not in a gym, haven't gone to a gym for years. Outside exercise is a game changer.
When SAD first sort of came on the radar for many people, you mentioned natural light there were these false lights that were supposed to help in a specific form of light indoors. Is that something you tried or didn't work for you? Have you not heard of those? Do you know the ones I mean?
I do, and I absolutely vouch for them. I moved from London, so I used it then, and it was really, really helpful because I've always worked from home even before this pandemic. So I've used those through the winter, and I think they're brilliant. They really, really help. But for me, I love fresh air, I love being outside. So in some ways, I think we shouldn't lose sight of actually that will always work better for you than switching a fake light on. But they really do help for sure. But actually, I gave mine away when I moved to the coast. So I thought, no, I'm determined not to use that ever again. I'm determined to make more points being outside and getting more fresh air because I know that always serves me best.
Tell me a little bit about how you're trying to make a difference then for others through your writing who suffer specifically from this.
Yeah, so I started writing in March, actually. It's always been a dream, and I've written quite a lot of stuff, but writing for books. And I started writing in March, and I was when these difficult times hit everyone. You know, my mentality has always been to look for the positive. And I was working with a load of different authors on another book, and I mentioned to one of them about silver linings of this time, because there's so much negative news. And it really gets you down. And when I listen to radio only, I didn't watch any videos, any visible news. But not just saying that, but you know, and I think it's really important that we're more mindful of what news we're getting and taking in. So I stopped with that. So I'm going to look for the good stories. And there's another certain radio station, certain DJ, who all he talks about is positive stories. I thought, well, we need to really collect those stories. The really good things that are happening right now, and you know, document them. So I created a book co-edited with Mike Davis Marks, who also lives by the sea, and we created Silver Linings, which is 22 stories from around the world, and they're positive stories of love, of connection, of community, of business success rather than failure. You know, all these different things that have happened that have come about as this unusual time and totally unforeseen sort of stories of joy. And the book, I'm really thrilled because at the back of the book, there is a space for whoever buys the book to write their own silver lining chapter. So you can become part of our book and our story, and you can write it in there, or you can do it online on the Kindle version, obviously. But, you know, I think it's always important to look for the something, and everyone will have something, you know, even if you're really struggling. I think, you know, because you look at that one thing that actually is better for you right now, it's different or completely unforeseen. It just helps you get through. I really believe that.
And your story could be included then, really. I mean, from what you've told me this year, it's been you started doing something that you'd always wanted to do and you love in March. You've moved to the sea. You've got a dog. You've got a great name, which is Jo. You got rid of your artificial anti-SAD lights. The only downside is that other radio station you mentioned, as far as I can see. It's been quite a positive time for you.
It really has, actually. Yeah, no, I mean, I have always worked from home. So to be honest with you, my life hasn't changed a huge amount for me. But it really has. And now I'm mentoring. I've always been a business mentor, but now I'm mentoring authors, you know, because I've been a teacher before in one of my previous lives. So I'm mentoring authors. I'm publishing other books. So it's given me this whole new avenue to explore. And actually, I think to write, to be creative, you do need focus. And my life was very busy. I'm a single mum with 2 kids and the dog. So my life is quite busy, quite frantic. I was out and about London a lot, which was great. But being still creates an element of focus and opportunity, I think, for thinking, well, what can I do? What can I write? And I really would ask anyone anyone to get the pen out or whatever, however you record. There's a great app called Otter. And you can do some writing, do some recording or something, whatever it is you're passionate about. It could be toasters, it could be fishing, whatever you're passionate about, do some writing about it or about your life right now. I think it'd be great for kids, to write their stories of silver linings of lockdown, because, there's so much change, and writing it down is a lovely way of endorsing your feelings. And actually, you never know, you might publish a book too one day.
Yeah, well, as I say, so at least one book in all of us, don't they? So why not?
Oh, at least one. More than that.
And just finally, I think you mentioned at the start that you suffered with seasonal affective disorder for quite some time. Do you think that lots of people do suffer and don't realise, as you may have done?
Yeah, I think so. We call it the winter blues, don't we? Or, it's really interesting. A very good friend of mine, she loves the winter, and the grey mopey days, her favourite weather. So everyone's different, but I think it does vary. But I think it's really important that we recognise. You don't need to necessarily call it SAD, but I think it's important to recognise what is happening and take action to help yourself through, and also share. So, the book I'm doing, like Being Fine, it's about sharing, and it's really important. Sometimes your loved ones, they might not really know how bad it is for you. And it is really bad for me. My children know that. My friends know that. And, I take action to compensate and get me through. And one day I will move to California, but not just yet.
No, they're local radio stations. Pants in California. You don't want to move there. They're rubbish teachers.
Good reason to stay.
Exactly. All right. Well, we hope you stay a little bit longer in Sussex. And people can find out more about you, Jo, by looking on social media?
Yeah, everything is just my name, Jo Baldwin Trott. And my Amazon account's got all my books, got 5 books there. So, yeah, everything is just at Jo Baldwin Trott.
Very good. All right. Well, look, thank you so much for sharing a little bit of your experience with us. And it must be time for another dog walk to the beach, I would think. There's some dance class at Hove Garden, Hove Lawn at 5 o'clock. So I'm going to race there now. Excellent. All right. Happy dancing. All the best, Jo. Thank you so much. Bye-bye. That's Hove author Jo Baldwin Trott there. Interesting, isn't it? Her friend likes the really grey, dark. Spring is where it's at for me. I find summers too hot, particularly now. Autumn, I think the sort of winter blues. Winter itself, I've never met anyone else who likes winter, so I suppose different strokes. Spring, surely, where's it at?
The sound of Surrey.
BBC Radio Surrey.